This is Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of May 2nd to June 5th, 2026.
Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I'm Brent Barrett.
And welcome back to the podcast. Appreciate everyone's patience here. I know it's been several weeks since we released, and that's been totally on me. My life has been a little bit of a roller coaster. So, my bad there as far as getting myself a bad head cold. Didn't have much of a voice, and then having to take care of some personal stuff. So we have got like 5 weeks of stuff to catch you up on. So we're going to have a lot of fun, I think, today.
Jam-packed super duper.
Yeah, hopefully. Lots of shows to cover, lots of news items, and also the contest that we announced. We have concluded the entries on that one. Thank you to everyone who sent in entries. We went through and did our random drawing. This is the one where we had 2 winners, a first place and a second place winner, where you get to choose anything that's available on Amazon that we can use our gift cards towards. So the winners, hopefully by the time we're releasing this podcast, you've heard directly from me already about this. So if you haven't for some odd reason, by all means reach back out. But I will be contacting you through the magic of time travel by the time this is released. And as far as the winners go, first place we have is Merrill M. from New Jersey. And second place is Joseph J. from North Carolina. So congrats, folks.
Congratulations, and thanks everybody who played.
These might be new names. I don't think I recall any of these guys winning before.
Yeah, I didn't do it's funny, I usually will oftentimes, once we pick the winners, randomly do the search, and I didn't yet, so I guess we'll find out as I reach out to see if they maybe have. But it was good to see entries, as always, from some folks who've entered before, and as you mentioned, Brent, maybe some new ones. So we appreciate you folks getting involved and having some fun with us on these. All right, we also, Brent does a great job putting the polls on our Discord, which is we talk about all the time, even though we haven't recorded in a few weeks. We still had plenty of great discussions going in the Discord, and we had a poll that he set up talking about The Boys. Now that it has finished its run, we were asking, what did you think of the entire series overall? And we had half a dozen different choices you could make, from, loved it to hated it to hadn't seen it. And the majority of the votes went to enjoyed it, with a couple of other spratters, from it was okay to didn't like it and so forth. And a good number of folks who, as I said, just haven't watched it and don't even plan to. Always interesting to see how these things play out.
It is, and this one is probably the most all over the map that I've seen in a long time. Nobody loved it, which I thought was interesting, especially given that we're going to get another spin-off show coming soon.
Yeah, no loves was a little surprising. I kind of saw it as a split really down two lanes that pops out to me, which is, like you said, the winner by a slight margin is everybody enjoyed it. Most people enjoyed it, which is where I voted too. I mean, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it or anything. But the other half is kind of, I didn't see it and I don't want to see it for whatever reason. It'd be nice to dive in deeper. And if you guys want to chat on the Discord and say why you never plan to watch it, that'd be interesting to hear. Is it just you don't think it's your type of show? You've heard bad things about it. I'd be curious to know why they don't want to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to dig a little deeper on some of these. So always love to hear it, folks. Feel free on our Discord, or even it's just you drop us a message, email, or different contact methods. We enjoyed the conversations. So look for a new poll up there on the Discord soon, and catching you up on some podcast items here. Let's get ready to move over to our quick review section.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
And here in our quick reviews, we're going to be looking at shows and giving them ratings, such as the Watch It Now, Watch It Soon, Let It Sit, or you can skip it. And these will be for shows and episodes that aired between May the 2nd and June the 5th of 2026. Starting us off, we had a few episodes to close out Season 5 for Ghosts. We had Episode 19, Gate. Episode 20, Polar Opposites. 21, Up the Creek. And the season finale, Episode 22, Across the Pond. For me, the ratings will go low Watch It Soon, and then 2 high Watch It Soons.
Interesting. I'm going to give them all solid Watch It Soons and the finale a high Watch It Soon.
Yeah, I just watched these earlier today, so I can give them all individual ratings pretty confidently. I'd say Gate. I actually really enjoyed it. I go high Watch It Soon on Gate. Polar Opposites, I'd go low Watch It Soon. It's one of those episodes that are not one of my favorites. And then the finale, the 2-part finale, 21-22, I give that just a Watch It Soon.
All righty, very good. Also, several weeks back, we had the Season 2 finale for Daredevil Born Again. This was Season 2, Episode 8, The Southern Cross. I greatly enjoyed it. Thought it finished out very strong. I'd say it's a low Watch It Now for me.
I would give it a high Watch It Soon.
Yeah, I can't quite go into Watch It Now. I go high Watch It Soon as well.
All right, next show we had is the Star Wars series, Star Wars Maul, Shadow Lord. A couple of episodes to finish out its season. We had Episode 9, which is Chapter 9, Strange Allies, and Chapter 10, The Dark Lord. Not a show I'm watching.
These were a while back, but I'm pretty sure I would give them both a high Watch It Soon.
Yeah, high Watch It Soon. Very borderline low Watch It Now for me. I thought that the series was really good overall and ended very well.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I almost gave the finale a low Watch It Now.
All right, the next show that finished out its season would be The Boys. We've got a few episodes here at the end of Season 5. It's final season as well, series finale, I should say. So we had Episode 6, Through the Heavens Fall. Episode 7, The Frenchman, The Female, and the Man Called Mother's Milk. And the finale, Episode 8, Blood and Bone. I enjoyed these last three. I'd say they're collectively probably mid-Watch It Soon to very high Watch It Soons.
I agree. I think I want to say 7 and 8, I would both say were high Watch It Soon. I can't remember 6 well enough, but I'll call it a regular Watch It Soon.
I do remember enjoying these quite a bit, so I'm going to give all three of them combined a high Watch It Soon.
Gotcha. All right. We also had the Good Omens final episode, the single episode here for Season 3, simply titled The Finale, which is the series finale. It's not one I'm watching right now, though.
It was good. I enjoyed it. I can't quite give it a low Watch It Now, but I would give it a very high Watch It Soon. It was bittersweet to see this come to an end. I really like these characters.
Yeah, I really liked this show in this universe. I agree with you, Wendy. And my wife and I both watched this, and it was very heartwarming. It was kind of a little bit of a rushed single episode to finale, but it still was good. So I'd go with you and say hi, Watch It Soon.
Well, good. All right. Next up, we've got a new show in here called Widow's Bay. Since we've last recorded, there have been several episodes, actually 7 of them. So let me run through the titles for you. We have Welcome to Widow's Bay, Lodging, The Inaugural Swim, Beach Reads, What to Expect on Your Trip, Our History, and Seasickness. I haven't seen this one yet.
So I have started watching this. The first 4 episodes the first 5 I've seen. The first 4 I would all give a solid Watch It Soon to a high Watch It Soon. The 5th episode I would just give a regular Watch It Soon. And episodes 6 and 7 I haven't seen yet.
Okay, I don't even remember what the show's about, so I definitely haven't seen it, so I can't rate it.
I'll talk about it a little bit in the back porch. Not too spoilery, but just the setup.
Excellent. That's what I was going to say. I'll tease you a little bit there, folks, if you want to wait a little later for more info if you haven't seen it either. Also, we had the Netflix series The Burrows. Season 1 dropped since we last recorded. The season as a whole, and we'll talk a little more about this in the back porch. For me, I would just say it's a solid watch it soon.
I agree. It's almost a high watch it soon, but not quite.
I just mainlined it all yesterday, and I'm going to go ahead and give it, while it is slow at points, but overall it's really good fun, I'd give it a high watch it soon.
All righty. We also had the full season drop, this one on Amazon Prime, for Spider Noir Season 1. I enjoyed this, but season as a whole, I will give a low watch it soon.
Interesting. I have not seen this yet.
I have seen this, and I watched it in color. I couldn't bring myself to watch it in black and white. They offer both options. It is also slow at times, but pretty good. Although I'm not going to give it a high watch it soon. I'm going to go with a straight watch it soon on this one.
And I think we'll talk a little bit back porch on it as well. And finally, as far as quick reviews go, we got the movie/episode. I'm not sure how you designate it, but the one for The Punisher, One Last Kill, here on Disney+. It didn't work that well for me, though. I wasn't a big fan of this, so I'll say very low watch it soon.
I'm not going to rate it. I started watching it and I stopped.
Yeah, this one is a little difficult to watch, although if you liked the Punisher Netflix series, you know the slow parts, the slow episodes in the middle, a lot of it was like that. It's basically like an entire season of the Netflix Punisher condensed into one, hour and a half or whatever it was, where it starts out with a bang, gets very slow, very much about the character's psychology and all everything that's happening to Frank. And then it ends with a big bang, too. So the start and the end were watch it nows for me. But overall, I'd give the whole thing a watch it soon.
All right. I think we'll talk a little more about that, too, later on. All right. Let's head into a little bit of listener feedback and several articles, trailers to share with you folks here. First off, we've got a voicemail. This one from Jesse Jackson from Dallas, Texas. And he's talking about the Let It Go Tuner Minute.
Thinking about Kevin's latest Tuner Minute about satisfying endings, or not even endings, I think stories, as in done. I think I'm the type that I'm always greedy. I always want more time with these characters, more stories set in the universe. But I do have two examples. Travelers, that was on Netflix. My brother loved that series, and I finally watched it and agreed it was a really well done series and ended in a way that kind of wrapped up the story and I was happy. 12 Monkeys, the series, I think really, I obviously would love more time with those characters, but I think overall they ended well, and I'm kind of okay not getting more. And then Station 11, which was designed to be a mini-series, but that is a series that really told a great story, and I'm done with that world. Though, in all cases, I love the actors so much. It's like The Leftovers. I would love to spend more time with those characters and see what goes on. So great story, and made me really think about a great question, I guess, and made me think about what is enough, and often, sadly, it's not for me.
Hey, thank you, Jesse. Appreciate the message there. Yeah, and I know for me, it's been interesting on this particular Tuna Minute, both in the conversation the three of us had on that podcast, we had that Tuna Minute, as well as on Discord, as well as in Jesse's messages, how so many folks naturally, when this topic comes up about just being, comfortable when a story ends, and Jesse actually touched on it with that idea of story rather than a show, and how it tends to get folks, myself included, to just start to think about certain shows you greatly loved or that finished strong, or that when you think about, you're very, they really make you feel good about the genre or that particular show. It's hard to break the concept of a completed story and being okay to let that go, and the actual identity of a certain show and its characters and what they mean to you. So thank you for that message, Jesse, and for everyone who shared some thoughts. It's just been fascinating sometimes when you come up with a 200-minute approach, and this was one where the majority of the idea was recommended by one of our listeners. And I try to spin it a little bit in terms of shall we say, a concept rather than a specific. But the passion comes through with everybody going specific to a show, myself included, once I start talking about it. So, again, thanks, Jesse. That was great stuff to hear.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. And I think you made an interesting distinction there about the story being concluded versus wanting to return to characters or a universe. And as you were talking, I was actually thinking about two shows. One was Angel, because I think Angel had a wonderful resolution to its story. It had flaws with certain arcs for characters, but overall, I was very satisfied when Angel finished. But I was also thinking about Doctor Who, and I think Doctor Who is a universe and a character that I don't think I will ever have enough of. So thanks again for your thoughts. We appreciate it.
Speaking of specifics, some good ones you picked there, Jesse. Appreciate that quite a bit. And I don't know if I mentioned this before when we talked about it, but there's one that I don't think ended well that I probably did mention, but I really want to see the resolution of it because I was really intrigued by the universe and the story being told. And that's, of course, Dark Matter, which we've talked about before, getting canceled way too early.
I will second that.
Yes, and I think there are many folks in that line with you folks, myself included, but I know the two of you and others very much enjoyed that chemistry of that cast and that story. All right, now let's move into some articles and, again, good batch of trailers for things that are coming up for us to enjoy. But first item Wendy's going to talk on is kind of probably the disappointing news, if you will, the biggest disappointing news of this podcast, and the fact we won't be getting that Stargate series we had heard we would be.
No, we will not. Chevron 7 is not going to unlock. Amazon has scrapped the previously announced sequel to Stargate. No specific reason was given by the powers that be, but the articles that reference this news speculate on changes behind the scenes. Two of the key executives that were backing the series and were responsible for new world building and genre series left and were replaced by somebody else in February. There was also some speculation that there was concern that Martin Giro had maybe written a show that would definitely appeal to the existing audience, but maybe wouldn't grow a new and obviously younger audience, maybe not have as much global appeal. So it's disappointing, but I'm hoping that, in another year or two, maybe somebody will come along with another take, because the premise of Stargate is very promising. And I think, maybe we do need somebody very tangentially associated to Stargate SG-1, meaning they were never involved in the original production. Or they're a super fan, because we know that folks that were super fans of the show, even if they weren't a writer for it, can often be so inspired that they go and do an interesting new take on things. So, it's disappointing, but it's not devastating.
Yeah, there's so many people behind the camera, behind the scenes, as well as fans who are so excited about this one that it is a little disappointing, as you said. But I am also hopeful. MGM has stated in the past that their flagship franchise IP is Stargate. They don't have another one like that. I mean, they tried to do, Universal tried to do, like monsters and stuff, but MGM doesn't really have anything. So they've been, in the sci-fi world especially. So I'm hopeful that they're going to do it. And the article did imply that they very well could be thinking about a new way to approach it. So I'm hopeful. I think we'll see new Stargate at some point. It's just it's a great canvas to play with, and so they can't just. I don't think they're going to drop it forever. So I'm not too disappointed, but a little bit.
Yeah, for me, I'm someone who didn't watch all of Stargate's, the different series, and even though the different ones, I dabble in and then watch a few and then not and so forth. But this was one with the new one coming where I kind of thought, timing wise, this is going to be a great chance to kind of reconnect to it. So it was disappointing in that sense. But I think, as Wendy pointed out, I mean, there's too much potential with this concept, not when they get the right people again, which it sounds like they initially had. And then, as life happens, other opportunities. So hopefully that is something they're going to go back to, change of management or, again, a fresh take that gets folks excited, because it would be good to have something, again, looking at this with just such a wide scope of things that can be covered. All right, next up, Brent's going to tell us some details about the upcoming season for The Rings of Power.
Yes, remember the Lord of the Rings TV spinoff, whatever, prequel thing that, had some mixed reviews and mixed fan reaction, but I generally enjoyed it. Generally and genuinely enjoyed it. I kind of mixed those two words, I think, when I just said that. But it is going to be premiering season 3 on November 11th of this year. I have to say this year because sometimes we get these long waits between seasons. And this was a long wait. Season 2 was quite a ways back. It's going to be on Prime, obviously Amazon Prime. And then just a real quick summary of this one is apparently season 3 is jumping forward several years from season 2. And it's going to be kind of in the height of the war between the elves and Sauron. So we're jumping forward to see that big battle that has been referenced in the past by other, in the movies. It was kind of hinted at and referenced as well. So looking forward to seeing where it goes, because I dug it. I really did enjoy it. So I'm excited for it to come back.
Yeah, this is a show that I enjoyed. I liked. I wouldn't say I love, but I definitely look forward to it and watch it regularly. So, glad that we have a formal date, that's on our tuner calendar and to look forward to. I did find it, I won't say odd, but unusual in the sense that now that, the overwhelming majority of our content is streaming, we tend to get premiere dates like just a couple of weeks. Maybe we're lucky if we get it a month ahead of time. Unlike the old days, of cable and traditional over-the-air timelines, which we knew fit into certain, fall and spring schedules. So this was a bit odd in the fact that we've got like an advance of like 6+ months for when the date is. So that is unusual. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, bad thing, or just they wanted to kind of stake their ground on it so everybody knew, maybe to schedule around it. So a pretty good amount of time to wait, but nice to know we'll have it, come beginning of late fall, early winter. And as Brent said from the description, some interesting times coming to be covered in the show. So looking forward to seeing what they're going to do.
Well, I really like the show. I think I love the show. I rewatched it, I want to say over the winter. And I'm definitely looking forward to what's going to happen, especially with the time jump, which makes sense because it was a long war. I thought that it had premiered last time sort of in summer. So maybe that's why they're telling us, so that if people who are normally expecting it to come back in like August, worried that, hey, did they cancel it? We know that it's coming in November. And, hopefully they'll do some more promotion. I think that they, there's definitely a place for, worrying about people embracing shows that have large casts and, many locations and storylines, but you got to also do some stuff to promote the show, Amazon, which I don't think they did very much of for season 2. So I hope that they get on board with season 3.
Yeah, it looks like season 2 aired. I just kind of pulled it up here. Back in September and October of 2024. So it'll be about 2 years between seasons, but similar time of year.
Yeah, yeah.
So we shall see. All right, we've got several release dates, premiere dates for our news items on this podcast. So along with knowing about the Rings of Power, we also learned recently about The Librarians, the next chapter, that's season 2. We got the premiere date for that one, and that's a little sooner on the horizon than Rings of Power. August the 2nd, season 2 is coming. They had given us at the end of season 1 a little bit of a teaser for some of the actors and some story bits. So it was good to kind of revisit that and know that come August, we're going to have season 2 start to air, because this was a fun series. So looking forward to what they're going to do in season 2.
Yeah, I don't have TNT currently, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to watch this.
I did like season 1, so it turned out to be refreshing. I thought it might be a bit cringy the way they were doing it, but I ended up actually enjoying it. It had the same kind of feel as the original, The Librarians, to me. So I'm looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, very curious if they're going to be able to kind of set their own mark here for season 2 after season 1 trying to find their footing, as you said, and it wasn't the greatest, but we shall see. All right, next up, we know Wendy is a fan of the Ark, and she's got some dates on when she gets to see more.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it because it's coming back to the Sci-Fi Channel, and I'm not sure how I watch the Sci-Fi Channel anymore. I'll have to figure that out. But it is returning for season 3 on Wednesday, July 29th. So I got a couple of weeks to figure it out. And showrunner Dean Devlin talked about how, to him, the first 2 seasons were really the pilot setup premise in this universe, and season 3 is actually the series itself. Because, mild spoiler, they found a home to start their colony finally, with much delay. So to him, season 3 is going to take on not just that component, but there's also a search and rescue component to the season. So in his mind, it's, taking on a bigger universe. Sometimes it doesn't work for shows, so I'm cautiously optimistic, even though, basically the premise is we're going to have kind of two storylines going on. But as I mentioned, I do not have cable TV anymore, so I'm going to have to figure out where I can watch sci-fi.
I get what you're saying about 2 storylines. That's always a gamble or a toss-up. You never know what's going to happen. For a service that gives you the old cable satellite channels, I might recommend you check out Philo. My wife and I have that as well as Hulu Live TV. We actually have both. They kind of complement each other. There's a little bit of crossover, but she really enjoys Philo.
I will do that.
Yeah, Wendy and some other folks in my social circles have been, and our Discord, talking up the Ark is getting better since I had tried some of it early on. So it's still on my radar. And I don't have a ton of shows that are getting released this summer that I'll be watching. So this might be the time for me to maybe give this a try. I do believe I currently do have sci-fi, but I'll have to take a look and confirm that because it's been a while since I've watched anything on there. They haven't had new shows in quite a while. But yeah, the Ark might be worth a catch-up for me to see what's going to happen going into season 3.
Interesting. It looks like it's on Hulu.
Yeah, I definitely get it on Hulu Live TV. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, so I have Hulu with my Disney Plus.
Do you have Hulu Live TV, though?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to cover it, though.
Yeah.
That might just be the live airings. But you can take a look.
All right.
It's not whole Hulu and Hulu Live and gray
Well,
area.
I mean, I had regular Hulu before it merged with Disney, and that's how I was watching it in the past.
Then maybe it'll be there.
It might just be a week behind. When it was on just Hulu, It was a week behind.
Yep, a lot of their stuff is, very in flux now with that whole merger and everything with what they're doing. So fingers crossed that's the case.
Yep.
All right, next items as far as release date. Brent's got one for a horror show we don't know much about.
Yeah, it's called Crystal Lake. This is a prequel TV series to the Friday the 13th movie series. Apparently going to take place before Jason becomes Jason, the killer, the slasher. And by the way, it's going to be premiering on Peacock Thursday, October 15th, so it's just in time for Halloween. We don't know a lot about it. I mean, I'm not really big into horror. I think I saw the original Friday the 13th, but it's not really my cup of tea, my kind of thing. So I don't know much more about it, but if you are into Friday the 13th and you're looking forward to or want to look more in the universe and maybe even see what happened before, what turned Jason into Jason, this sounds like the series for you.
Yeah, I'm in a similar spot as far as horror not being my go-to genre. So I guess, I might kind of wait and see what we get as far as the trailer goes. Again, timing of what other shows might be on. So this is one of those very much, for me, in the mushy middle of whether or not I definitely would or definitely won't be watching.
Well, I currently don't have Peacock, so I'd have to have a good reason to get my subscription going again. This is not in my wheelhouse, really, unless it's more psychological type horror. I tend to like that, versus just the stabby and using music to create tension. The one thing that looks interesting is Linda Cardellini is the mother, and she's an actor that I liked a lot when, I want to say she was in one of those ER type shows a while back, but it's been a while. Honestly, I need to see a trailer or something. But it is written by the person who wrote It, Welcome to Derry, which was very well received. So it's got a pretty good background to it. I did not see It because that's definitely not in my wheelhouse for horror. But I know that there are people in our Discord who are more interested in that kind of stuff. And maybe you can convince me why it's worth checking out if I'm not a full-on horror fan. I'd be curious to hear what some folks think.
Yeah, as you pointed out, Wendy, we really got to wait to see what it is. I mean, obviously, the traditional Friday the 13th movies are slasher through and through. I mean, they almost started the genre. Well, I wouldn't say started, but they're a staple in that genre. So, but some of the people behind it, you've got a lot more thought-provoking stuff. So that first trailer, I think, is going to be very important for a lot of folks.
Well, the other thing about that that I was thinking about is there was a show, and I want to say it was on AMC, that was about, it's the Alfred Hitchcock movie with he stabs everybody in the shower. I'm not going to remember.
Psycho?
Yes, it's the prequel to Psycho. It's all about him and his mother, and they run the motel and all that stuff. And it was actually really well done.
Bates
but like
Motel,
I said, it was,
I think it was called.
Yes, Bates Motel. Thank you. I really enjoyed that show, but it wasn't horror. It was really the psychological, twisted stuff that was going on. That was very interesting.
Well, this one might be like that. Crystal Lake says it's Jason and his mother in the prequel. So,
yeah, no, that's good precedent there, Wendy. That's a great example. So, bring on the trailers, folks. All right, next item I have is a trailer, and it's for something rare for us, and that's a genre comedy. Coming to HBO Max is a spin-off from The Big Bang Theory. This is Stuart Fails to Save the Universe. Many of you remember Stuart and some of the characters, his comic book store and else. So if you haven't seen it yet, link in the show notes, as always, with any of these trailers or news items, folks. But you got a meaty, 2 minutes worth of a trailer for this show that is coming to HBO Max on July the 23rd. And it's more than just, shall we say, or it appears to be more than just a traditional sitcom. It's a bit of a story. It looks like they're going big view of apocalypse situation and such. So I got to say, for something I was barely interested in, this is a case where a trailer got me to say, I think I'm going to at least check this one out.
I was definitely brought into the fold by the trailer. Great musical choice that they used for it too. And also the fact that I currently have HBO. So it is on the list.
We found the one service Wendy actually has. All right. Just kidding. But I also enjoyed the trailer and was convinced to try it out. I mean, Big Bang Theory was a genre adjacent show, comedy, sitcom, as you said. This one was full on genre, multiverse, apocalypse. And yeah, it doesn't have the main characters from Big Bang Theory, but it has characters that I found enjoyable in the series. So the trailer looks great. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, for me, it's always nice to have at least one comedy in the rotation. So hopefully it's enjoyable. Looking forward to it. End of July or near the end of July. All right, next up, we got the big one for Wendy.
Yep, House of the Dragon Season 3 is coming soon. We have a link in the show notes to the final Season 3 trailer. And it is on. The war is lit. The Dance of the Dragons is going to be the focal point of this season. It's premiering June 21st, which is a Sunday night, of course. Our small council will be doing a predictions type pregame show again this time because we had so much fun doing it last time. Yeah, I'm very much excited about what we're going to see happen in King's Landing.
Yeah, as you guys know, or your longtime listeners, it's not a show I ever got into, but I'm looking forward to the small council's predictions. They're usually pretty fun.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks are very excited for this, and it's great to have Wendy with a real pulse on what's going on there. I keep looking at these trailers and going, I should make the time. I think I might enjoy it, but I haven't got to it yet. So looking forward to seeing what Season 3 is like.
Yeah, Kevin, I think that you might want to wait until the whole season's over and then you'll know what you're getting. And even Brent might want to watch it 24 style when we get to the actual end.
Whenever I see the lady who plays Supergirl, I can watch those scenes and skip the rest.
Well, then you're going to have to change because she's only in season 1.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, keeping it on the radar, that's the important thing. All right, moving on to our next item. Brent's going to tell us a little more about lanterns.
Yeah, we had a teaser, an early teaser for the show, which I think all of us kind of collectively went, I'm not sure. We need to see more. It was a very grounded kind of crime, cop buddy cop sort of teaser the first time. But this one is what I'm talking about. This is what I think is a really great trailer. It's showing the superpowers, showing them in use, the ring in use, even funny stuff like making fake money to use a jukebox. There's great action, great banter in this one. It seems just a little more crisp and kind of what I want in a superhero show, a superpowered show. This one, again, is going to premiere August 16th. It's not that far away on Max. So Wendy can see it. She has HBO. But it looks cool to me. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, and Brent's spot on, too, as far as that first teaser was like, But this one, right, we're more out in front genre and what it is. So I think it's something to keep an eye on. And again, I don't see a ton of stuff premiering in August. So probably be there to check it out. Glad they're getting us more of hopefully what the show's really about.
Yeah, I liked this trailer a lot more. It definitely got me reaffirming my interest. And as Brent mentioned, it's on HBO, so that checks a box. The thing I was thinking about after I saw this trailer was it might be going sort of Watchmen-like, the Damon Lindelof series Watchmen, so that would be a good thing too. These hopefully will be very rich characters, but not boring. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
And so far, all we've got is teasers. So once they do give us, quote, air quotes here, official trailer or full trailer, that might cement what we're looking at. All right, Wendy, I think it was Wendy touched on the fact when we were talking earlier about The Boys that we do have that spinoff coming, and that's Vought Rising. And naturally, with a lot of folks watching The Boys and the finale, Prime took the chance to drop about a minute and a half worth. It's what is called as a first look at this show, Bot Rising. No specific date, but some character stuff that we've seen from the boys in terms of setting of timelines, a little bit teased in here, and just the general info that this is coming in 2027. So I think I'll be checking it out. I haven't seen anything that makes me say, nah, it's not worth it yet. So to their credit, it's at least keeping me interested.
Yeah, that would be kind of my take. It didn't put me off. It didn't get me super excited, though. Didn't have a lot of humor like we expect from the boys. Maybe they're just pulling their punches for folks who maybe didn't like the boys, because it also didn't seem to be leaning super heavy into the graphic gore in this little teaser, whatever. I mean, I love me some Dean Winchester, Jensen Ackles. And I also love period stuff. So it looks great from a production perspective, and I expect, certainly the performances and the cast of the boys was really good. So, it's on the list. I don't know how high it is on the list, but it's on the list.
Yeah, the trailer looked interesting. Like you guys said, it didn't. There was a lot of fighting in the trailer, which was good. There was parts of that, but there were points where if that was a trailer for the boys, there would be like punches through guts and ripping out intestines and stuff that isn't in this one. It's more of traditional kind of fighting that we saw so far, at least. So maybe it's just a slightly different tone, which would be nice. Yeah, it was a little lacking on the comedy side, and I kind of enjoyed that about the boys, some of the funny bits. But the boys is a pretty heavy universe too, so. Definitely not out of the ordinary for it to be kind of heavy. And I'm actually, so I will be checking it out, but I'm actually kind of surprised because my wife, who also watched The Boys and is a huge Supernatural fan, loves Jensen Ackles, was excited to see him come to the show and had mentioned that he was going to do the spinoff. And then I told her, hey, did you check out the trailer for the spinoff? Are you going to watch it? You're going to watch the show? And she said, nah, I'm going to skip it. I don't know why. Maybe she's just been disheartened by his character. I don't know, but it's interesting to get somebody who is a big fan of that actor and has been watching the show just not want to bother with the spinoff.
That is interesting, though. As a character, he's not a great character. I mean,
yeah, he's not someone you want to, you necessarily going to
He's
like.
not an admirable. Yeah, he's not very likable or admirable.
Well, and at this point, this first look, as they call it, first look video, it's been out about 2 weeks as we record this podcast, and it's coming up on 2 million views. So there are definitely a good amount of fans that are at least taking a look at this. So I guess, yeah, we'll need to wait and see a lot more. All right, our next item, going back to Wendy in the Apple TV world. She's got some info on a trailer for a show there.
Yep, Silo Season 3 is coming back very soon, July 3rd. And this is a pretty meaty trailer. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'll just say I'm not sure that I like the brainwipe setup for Juliet. But we'll have to see how it actually plays out. It could be more interesting and maybe won't be slow as I feared that it might.
Yeah, it's another show I haven't gotten into, and I think last I heard I was going to kind of wait to see what you guys thought about Season 3 before I tried to go into it, but yeah, okay, I'll wait.
Season 2 was really good, even better than Season 1. My concern is it's going to do a side trip here.
Split stories like the other show, like the Ark story that you were worried about?
Well, you remember Kevin and I were talking about Paradise and how Paradise really had 3 episodes of plot and a whole lot of side story with characters I don't know. I'm worried that might happen in Silo Season 3.
Oh, yeah,
based on this trailer.
Gonna have to see then. Yeah, no, Silo is definitely higher on that list of Apple TV shows I should check, but I haven't yet, so I guess I'm going to have to wait to see what Wendy thinks.
Well, even if you just watch the first 2 seasons, it would be time well spent.
Okay. All right, moving on. Brent's got a fun video to talk about.
Yeah, it's a video that Kevin found, and so I've got to credit him for it. But it looks like it was maybe meant as an Emmy submission for Jenna Ortega as the lead, or some submission to an awards season, I guess, for Jenna Ortega as the lead, because it's a really good look at as it says, the evolution of Wednesday Addams, of Jenna Ortega playing Wednesday. There's a lot of inside, interviews and discussions with her about how she approaches the character. Lots of little clips and quips from the show, which are fun to see, but lines from some of her co-stars as well, talking about her talent in the role and stuff. So if you're a fan of the show, if you're a fan of Jenna Ortega in that role, or just Jenna Ortega in period, I guess, definitely check this out. We don't know for sure when Wednesday season 3 is coming back. There's a lot of rumors and speculation. It'll be in 2027 sometime. But we don't know for sure. So season 3 is being filmed and will come back sometime.
Yeah, this was just a couple minutes long, and as Brent said, it's definitely one of those ones, because at the end of it, it says, for your consideration, which is the type of stuff they put out for folks when they're doing their, awards season situations. But it was fun just to be reminded of how awesome she is in the role, and the fact that, season 3 is coming. So, just a reminder that how cool Wednesday the show is. So it's a fun one if you haven't seen it.
This was fun, and Wednesday keeps popping up as, recommended for me to watch again on Netflix. And I've been thinking about it, but I kind of sort of saved that for the fall. I just agree completely, because I want to say it was Catherine Zeta-Jones was talking about her deadpan delivery. And, she said that Jenna has a very dry sense of humor herself as a character. So, she's made for this role for sure. And also, this also just reinforced what great dialogue this show has. I mean, yes, you have to have an actor who delivers it, but you also have to have something to start from. So I don't know, maybe I won't wait until the fall to do a rewatch.
Yeah, it should be fun. All right, staying in the Netflix world, the next link in the show notes to talk about a trailer is for the live-action version of The Last Airbender. Season 2 is coming to Netflix on June the 25th, and they've released about a 2-minute trailer. So if you enjoyed Season 1 live-action, or if you're thinking about, jumping into the live-action side for The Last Airbender, it's a trailer you might want to take a look at.
So I haven't been watching this. I didn't actually look at the trailer either. I didn't have time because our show is jam-packed with stuff today. But I'm glad that more is coming back for those who enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a show I haven't seen. I think I would enjoy it. And I don't know why I didn't really watch it. Maybe it's because I think I sampled the animated show a long time ago and thought, not really for me. It's just kind of too, I don't know what it is, just not me. But the trailer does look kind of fun. So it's one of those shows that, Kevin has an actual list that he keeps shows on that he needs to catch up on. I have a phantom list that I keep in my head that keeps disappearing because I'm getting older. It goes into that list. So I don't know when it'll actually be viewed, if ever.
Brent, I have that same list. It's in the cloud somewhere.
Yeah, the old-fashioned biological cloud called your brain, the gray matter.
Yes.
More power to you folks. I can't remember what I'm supposed to do tomorrow, so no, I can't deal with the virtual list thing. Otherwise, it's not a list at that point. It's just mishmash.
We can't remember either, Kevin. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's wishes and aspirations.
I'd call that a pipe dream because there's no chance I'd get to it. All right, next item we have talked about a little bit, but for those who have not or don't want to go into hear our discussion later in the podcast, Wendy's going to talk a little bit about Spider Noir.
Yeah, so we have the link to the final trailer for Spider Noir, starring Nicolas Cage. I have not seen the series yet, but this trailer is very convincing that I want to watch it. And this is something that I definitely should have written down that I needed to watch. And I don't know why. There must be something about the other things that I'm watching, because generally these things pop up as suggestions for me. I've been watching a lot of British crime lately, so maybe that's why it's not popping up. But as I said earlier about, rewatching Wednesday is on the list, Spider Noir is actually on my plan for the rest of the weekend.
And I think that's a good plan. We'll talk about it in the back porch more, but I would say the trailer does a pretty good job of representing the show. There is a lot of action. There's a lot of character moments. There's a lot of humor. I would just say this about it from the trailer perspective, from having seen the series, and that is that Nicolas Cage, no matter what you think of him, he does a great job of bringing an actual, distinct, unique character to life, both as the guy, the public persona and the one behind the mask. So it's worth watching.
And yeah, I will just second or reinforce what Brent said without getting spoilery, that, yeah, I really enjoyed his performance as this lead character. So, thumbs up there. So, make your own judgments. If you're not aware, we touched on it a little bit earlier. I mean, you can watch this either in traditional noir, if you will, black and white, or in full color versions. They're both available. One disappointment a little bit for me is when I was watching these episodes, I had to, for family reasons, I had to take a trip and had a couple of flights. And Amazon only allows, and like in my case, I wanted to download them to my tablet to watch, on the plane. They only allow you to download the color version, so that my choice got made for me. I might have tried to watch the black and white one myself, but not that the color one wasn't still good. But yeah, that's part of the whole atmosphere of this show. So Brent and I will talk a little further in the back porch. All right, we mentioned Doctor Who a few times. Brent's got some news? ?
Yeah, if you've been sleeping under a rock, you might have not have noticed, but Disney Plus and the BBC have kind of broken up. They're having a divorce a bit. Remember that Doctor Who went to Disney Plus. There was all this hype about how it's going to have so much more money. It's going to be such a high production value, and they produced a couple seasons with Chudi Gatwa, and then that was it. And then Disney kind of said, we don't want any more. And then they, of course, produced the kind of special called The War Between the Land and the Sea, which Disney Plus said, yeah, we'll air it eventually, because Disney Plus was partially funded that, I believe. And Disney Plus still won't air it. They still have not announced when they're going to air it. And speculation is they'll never air it, and we'll never see it in the U.S. You have to go through other means, maybe a VPN or something, to go see it from some other place. So Doctor Who's been in limbo for a while. There is a planned Christmas special, and there's a lot of, if you read online, there's a lot of panic about how they're not going to do the Christmas special this year because they haven't started filming yet. Whereas they've always started filming the Christmas specials in August. They've never filmed them before then. So there's absolutely no reason to think that they're not going to do it. But if they do it, it may only air on the BBC, just like The War Between the Land and the Sea, and not anywhere else, because I don't know if that Christmas special ties into the Disney deal or not. But basically, there is no more Doctor Who going to be produced beyond this, perhaps, for Disney or with Disney's cooperation. So the BBC has been looking around for other partners, and one thing that is a good indication that perhaps they found another partner for new Doctor Who is that the back catalog of all of the Doctor Who shows up to the Disney era have been acquired by AMC Plus. AMC also owns BBC America, which used to air. Remember, it used to do co-production with BBC and air first-run Doctor Who. So there's speculation that it's kind of gone back home in the U.S. side, and AMC is going to pick it up again. Whether they're going to air the new episodes on BBC America, again, no confirmation that they've picked up the new episodes. It's just speculation based on the fact they picked up the back catalog. But if they do that, we don't know if it's going to be on BBC America or it's going to be on AMC or AMC Plus or whatever. But at least it's a good sign that maybe we'll have a way to watch Doctor Who first run in the U.S. There's never been any doubt. The BBC has made this quite clear. Never any doubt that Doctor Who's been canceled. That's not happening. BBC is a flagship product for them, flagship show. They are always going to produce it and distribute it around the world. It's just, distribute it in the UK, I should say, through the BBC. That's always going to happen. The only question was who the worldwide and U.S. distributors would be. So anyway, a long story short, it's kind of up in the air, but it looks like maybe it's going to AMC for the U.S. to watch first run. So I think that's a good sign.
And, that would be certainly for someone like me, the goal, if you will, or the fingers crossed outcome is that, we do find a U.S. side partner that is willing to take it up so that we don't have to use VPNs and alternative methods to still be able to watch Doctor Who. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, we've talked in the past about how the Anne Rice series on AMC Plus was not a reason for me to subscribe, but Doctor Who might be. I loved watching Doctor Who on BBC America. I loved watching BBC America on cable when I had it. And if somehow maybe AMC Plus will bundle in some BBC America with it, I take my money. Please, please, please.
Yeah, it's interesting too because AMC Plus, appears to be kind of boistering, their catalog of shows, maybe positioning themselves to try to draw in more subscribers in a more serious manner, because not that this one show is a specific, but it's one of several others I've seen. Winona Earp was made available on AMC Plus since it had left Netflix quite a while back. And there were a couple other shows, and I'm sorry, the names are escaping me, but I noticed that there was announcements that, this show and its multiple seasons are now available on AMC Plus. And we know we have talked about a few originals that were on AMC Plus. So this very much could be part of them finally saying, hey, we need to grab something very high profile like Doctor Who, and that it really might give us a good shot to get a lot of subscribers. All right, jumping back to the Netflix world, we did some quick reviews early on for The Burrows. We'll talk a little more in the back porch about some, details of it. But for those who maybe are not familiar with it or aren't going to be listening to a back porch discussion, we do have the link in the show notes for the final trailer that was put out for The Burrows. So it's a good, as we say sometimes, or I certainly do, a meaty trailer, meaning it's like 2.5 minutes or more. I think the trailer, now having watched the show, I rewatched the trailer shortly before we recorded and said, yep, that does a very good job of letting you know kind of what's coming. So if you haven't been paying much attention to The Burrows, what it is, or whether you might want to watch it and you aren't going to listen to our discussion later on, by all means, not a teaser, here's a full trailer, give you a feel for what it might be. And I think like I say, this is a case where it definitely is not doing any kind of a bait and switch or only giving you the good parts. This is showing you an idea of what this series is like.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is definitely a true preview of what's to come in the series, and we'll talk about it, but I enjoyed it.
Yes, I definitely encourage people to look at this. Like I said in my quick reviews, there were some slow parts, but overall it was pretty good. It maybe, no, I'm not going to say maybe. I was trying to hedge my thing here. It's not as good as Stranger Things, but it's, same style, same concept, same showrunners. But it was fun. It was enjoyable. It is a show I would recommend people watch once. It's probably one I'm not going to go back and rewatch, but definitely worth watching.
All right. And our final news item here for this podcast, Wendy's going to give us some little inside stuff about Pluribus.
So Apple TV has what they're calling behind the scenes of Pluribus, and they actually have a whole playlist. There's 6 videos, and Vince Gilligan, who is the showrunner, and Rhea Seehorn, who plays the lead, are generally the people talking in these. And if you like this kind of stuff, they're generally between 2 and 3 minutes. And, obviously don't watch these if you haven't seen Pluribus, but if you have, they picked a lot of very memorable scenes from the series too. So it's not like some random stuff. This is things that you'll want to revisit if you're a fan of the show. Very enjoyable. I definitely recommend.
Yeah, I was a fan of the show, and I do plan on revisiting these, as you said. But I think I'm going to hold off until just before the next season airs to catch up by watching these. I think this would be a good way to remind myself of everything that happened. So it looks fun. I'm going to bookmark it right now on a digital list, Kevin. It's not in my head. Put a bookmark on my browser.
Awesome, because unfortunately, from what I've heard, season 2 is been pushed out 2027, maybe 2028. So Your memory probably might not
bookmark
go there.
will be there for a while.
So it might be a while before you get to these. But as Wendy said, they're short, but they're good insights into what it was involved in shooting that scene, or some tricks that were used, or some ideas to help the actors. It's good, behind the scenes stuff. Some of these behind the scenes stuff, as we've talked, has been great to be getting in the last few years. We didn't have to wait for actual DVD releases or so forth, but sometimes some of these shows just give you a little fluff and you're like, okay, I learned nothing in that 4 minutes. But these ones aren't. These are good stuff. If you enjoyed Pluribus, you'll enjoy seeing a little more about it. Might enhance your, season 1 rewatch, since we got plenty of time till season 2. And as usual, to finish us out here in the water cooler, we have a Tuner Minute. This one was recorded by Brent, and it's entitled Spin Cycle.
The spin-offs are not a new thing in television. We've seen them since the 50s. Even genre TV spin-offs are not a new thing. But we did have a bit of a drought in genre spin-offs for a while. Lately, however, more have started to appear. Spin-offs can be in the same universe or just with the same showrunners and general theme. An example of recent in-universe spin-off would be The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and a spin-off that's from the same showrunners and has the same theme, but not necessarily with the same universe, might be The Burrows. My question to you is about spin-offs as a whole. Do you like it when a show spawns more of the same? If the original show isn't a favorite of yours, would you rather the powers that be spent that effort on a new concept? And if you do enjoy them, do you prefer the in-universe spin-offs that might even include appearances by characters you know? Or would you prefer a whole new set of characters and story? What are your thoughts on spin-offs?
Yeah, I think it for me, it has come down to, if it's something that I've enjoyed, then yes, I will always have more of a positive feel for it and be willing to try it. Much more open-minded towards it if it's from something that I enjoyed, whether it's direct, same universe, some new characters, whether it's just in, shall we say, the heart of it, the concept and some of the creators behind it. The most important factor almost always for me, did I enjoy the original? Because if it's something that I didn't really watch, I won't be against the spinoff, but I'll have zero attachment to it. It'll really have to, shall we say, win me over completely from scratch, as if it didn't even matter if it was a spinoff. So I normally won't have a black mark against it if it is a spinoff, or I'm definitely going to watch it, because there have been other situations where there have been universes where it's a show that, I was something I might have watched but wasn't really a huge fan of, and there was a spinoff, then it's a very neutral feeling for me until I get to see, as we all say all the time, until we get that trailer, can I really know what my feeling's going to be? So I'm definitely more positive than negative, but you've got to have won me over initially before I'm going to have a real market difference because of it.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you, Kevin. The prime property has to be something that I really loved for, a majority of the characters. It can't be a show that I only liked one character and that character's not in the spinoff. And I'm kind of thinking of The Librarians, because I remember when The Librarians started, it was almost like, hey, you shouldn't have Noah Wyle in this show because he's kind of messing up the chemistry of the characters. But, remember we were about to have it wasn't a spinoff, it was a sequel, a Buffy sequel coming. We just talked about the Stewart Fails to Save the World out of the Big Bang Theory universe. So for me, it definitely has to have some characters or some connection, but it doesn't have to be huge. The other spinoff that I loved was Major Crimes, which is not a genre show, but it was and I guess it was more of a sequel, but the main character in The Closer was not in it, and yet I still really, really liked it. So, and even Ghosts is going to have a spinoff, right? That will be a slightly different premise coming next year that I'm not averse to at all. So it really just has to be a case where they're doing something slightly new, though. It can't be a literal, we just change the people sitting in the chairs. That would be not appealing, but I don't think that that's what people are doing anymore.
Yeah, I saw that commercial, by the way, for that spinoff with the vampires from Ghosts. I kind of wish we had done an article on that now that I think about it in the water cooler. But it looked kind of interesting and fun. I'm kind of split minds on this, which is why I thought of it, because I saw all the references to spinoffs in our news and in our shows, and I thought, well, let's talk about spinoffs. But to my mind, if I absolutely adore a show and I just love the characters in it, I don't know that I necessarily want a spinoff unless it's going to feature those characters. Maybe I say, hey, just do something else, because this was perfect as it is. I don't need you to try to make more of this, and maybe I won't like the characters in the new one. But if it's a show that I loved the setting, I love the premise, I loved the story, the storytelling, and I trusted the showrunners, so I thought the showrunners had a big part in that, then I'd be more up for another spinoff. And if it's a case where I didn't really like the characters as much, I wasn't really into those, but I love the premise, then I'd totally be for a spinoff that isn't in the same universe, but it's just from the same showrunners, because I trust that what they've made will work. So I'm kind of split. To my mind, it's like, yeah, just like you guys, if it's something you really love, yeah, maybe. But again, if it's just the characters I loved, but the rest of it was kind of like, whatever, then I probably would prefer not to have a spinoff. I'd probably prefer to say, hey, guys, go create something else. Maybe I'll fall in love with that too, and it'll be perfect as well. So I don't know. I'd be very interested to hear what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, all right. Well, there's your challenge from Brent. Please, folks, reach out. Let us know. Discord, email, voicemail. Some thoughts on this is always appreciated, and looking forward to starting some conversations. All right, that should wrap us up in water cooler. Let's get ready. We're going to move over to the back porch. We have several shows, 5 or 6 shows we want to touch on since we haven't recorded in a while, and we'll go into details on each of those.
Today we talk about Daredevil Born Again, The Boys, The Burrows, Spider Noir, The Punisher One Last Kill, and Widow's Bay.
All right, starting off the back porch for this particular podcast, we're going to go in a Wayback Machine. 5-6 weeks worth of time here, and let Brent talk about the season 2 finale for Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah, it was a finale we all expected, kind of a culmination of Mayor Fisk, the downfall of Mayor Fisk, and how Daredevil is able to achieve that downfall. And I think we got a pretty good climax, a pretty good showdown. I have a lot of great fight scenes in this one, in the finale. And the outcome is what's only a little disappointing to me. I think I didn't give it a watch it now because I really I want my heroes to win, and while Daredevil did win in a sense in that he got Fisk to leave office, Fisk won too, because Fisk got to be free, got to go be on the beach. Of course, he doesn't have his wife, so that's a bit of a loss. But he got to be free and be on the beach and enjoy as much as he can his life, whereas our hero gets to go behind bars and back in prison, where he's been before in the Netflix show. But so I was a little disappointed by that. I kind of wanted a better ending. Now, it looked like we were going to get it because we were getting teased with the scene in I guess it was a restaurant, where we get Karen and Matt together, and they're clearly openly in love, and it looks like everything's wonderful. And then all of a sudden, some lights are police lights, and Matt gets down on his knees and puts his hand behind him, and we're like, yeah, okay, great. Now this is what's going to have to happen, of course, because everybody knows who he is, and he came out publicly who he was. So all of the things that Daredevil has done in the past, and there's no murder, although they might have tried to pin murders on him, but he certainly hasn't murdered people. But there's been a lot of violence and a lot of engaging and breaking and entering and stuff. So he has to be punished for that, right? Because he committed those crimes. So he goes to jail, which kind of bummed me out. I kind of don't want it to be the case. Now they are this combined with, and we're going to talk about it later, Punisher, kind of setting up where the chess pieces are for movies like Spider-Man Brand New Day that are coming up. So we had to get things set in a certain place, and I think that's part of it. I did enjoy the fights. Let's put it that way. And I did enjoy that Mayor Fisk was unseated, was kicked out of office. I enjoyed all that. Just didn't really enjoy the very end. I kind of wish it had a happier ending.
That's interesting because, for the most part, I enjoyed season 2 more than season 1. Some up and downs and typical for these shows in terms of, slowing down a bit there. But I really kind of liked, and I think I gave it the highest rating of the three of us for this episode, that we finally pushed some big things. And while I'm not happy he's in jail, I at least see that as a good starting point for season 3. As much as I love Vincent D'Onofrio's performance and Kingpin and him as the mayor, to me that was totally taking away from Daredevil and Karen and their story. There was just so much Fisk and so many stories revolving around him and his wife and his enforcers and all that I thought we were taking away from what I wanted to see more of, which was Daredevil. So I'm glad we appear to have buttoned that off. Like you said, he's out on the beach and hopefully he's not coming back. And while I'm not happy that Matt's in jail, I kind of see why they would start from there. And that might be, I think, a good starting point for where we go with season 3. So I kind of liked the way they wrapped a lot of this together at the end, to give us a jumping off point for the next season. And I'm hoping that curve of season 2 is better than season 1. Hopefully season 3 now is going to be better than season 2. So I'm going to stay positive there.
I definitely liked this season more than last because we got character progression. Season 1 almost felt like it was for people who'd never watched Daredevil before, and that's valid, to try that. But it just wasn't very original to me. I do agree that I'm glad that we might be moving on to other big bads in the next season. Fisk is not in jail, but he's been exiled from his city. His love is dead. His crime organization is effectively dead. Most of it's in jail with Matt Murdock. And I like that they have the reveal that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. I really liked the character progression for Karen that happened in this season. So I think those positive aspects to the season are all good signs for where we might be headed in season 3. And I agree. I hope that we don't over-focus on the big bad nemesis character for season 3, but hopefully have an interesting, compelling one. But they very much made this Matt Murdock and Fisk are sort of reflections of each other and, the dark side of each other in some ways. And I don't need that much symmetry between my heroes and my villains. I think we can move on to something that's less of that.
I might be mistaken, but I think they're already shooting it. So I'm hoping it's one of those situations where you've got some continuity of the creatives to write to the folks. They know what they can handle. We can set it up and really springboard into some good stuff. At least that's what I'm hoping to. All right, moving on. The next show that also had in this case, a series finale. I'll lead our discussion talking about The Boys. And, The Boys has been something, we've been talking about all along. I up and down on my enjoyment of this show. Knowing what it is and what to expect. Part of my trouble at some point was unrealistically thinking it wasn't going to be as just gross and over the top as, yes, that's what it is. So I had to kind of recenter my thoughts on it because there are some great performances in here, some very interesting characters. It's a very interesting take on the whole superhero genre and the idea of how horrible things can go here. So I thought that we had the last few episodes here of season 5. Season 5 overall, I enjoyed. I was kind of, by the time we got about halfway through it, was kind of like, okay, let's kind of get to the end. We need to get to the big showdowns. We need to see if we're going to be able to take out Homelander. Who are we going to lose along the way and how we're going to do it? And I thought they did, overall a good job in terms of how you had to try to make that kind of work. Losing a character or two that I enjoyed, again, being the end and a 5-season show to get here. So it had me interested in what they were going to do. I thought they did a good job presenting it as it played out. If I had to nitpick or pick on something that I was disappointed in, we had a few of the characters from the spinoff, Gen V, that, for the most part, I enjoyed more than the boys here in the last couple of episodes, but they were window dressing. They barely did anything, which was definitely disappointing. I was hoping there would be a bigger part of it. I can understand why not. Again, it's the boys finale. I mean, Gen V got canceled kind of unceremoniously. I kind of was hoping the reason they did that was because they were going to give these characters a chance to really be a key part of it for the whole universe side, but that didn't quite happen. So a little bit of a bummer there. But again, I thought, we played it as best we could. We got a chance to have our big epic showdown right there in, the Oval Office and everything else, to very appropriate, and losing some characters left and right and having some emotional tugs. So, definitely enjoyed it. Thought it did a good job closing it out. So this is one of those shows where I don't see any possibility of me wanting to rewatch it, but I'm glad I did watch it. And if someone asked, I could say that if you watch a little bit of the show and can deal with the extremes it's going to go to, then you're going to get that beginning to end.
Yeah, it definitely resolved in a satisfying way. I was a little worried they weren't going to kill Homelander, or they weren't going to be able to kill Homelander, plausibly. There was some surprises for sure. I thought they handled the death of Frenchie in that whole episode was definitely one of the highlights from this season, to motivate all the characters going into the finale. I liked how things resolved with Huey and Starlight. The Butcher character, that he got to have some resolution with, I'm forgetting Homelander's son's name, but you know who I mean. And also the fact that he didn't get to have a real resolve with him because he understood. He's like, you're not a good person, Butcher. I need to go be with Mother's Milk and people who are more better people, which I thought was appropriate. So I liked how it resolved. I did like that it was really Butcher and Homelander's son who were sort of key to everything. I liked that the Deep got what he deserved as well. And I do take to your point, though, Kevin, about the Gen V people, because I assumed at a minimum the one whose superpower was all about the blood would have a little bit more to do. But the other thing that I found was an interesting turn, and I'm going to forget her name, or character's name. I want to say it was Grace. She was the one who was super smart and manipulating everything and wanted to let the virus take everyone out so she could just go read a book in a cave. That was an interesting turn, that she decided that, lobotomy was the way to go, so that she could just enjoy her life and go to Disney. That was definitely not on my bingo card. And I guess they had to leave Soldier Boy alive because of the spinoff, but even though it's a prequel, because I think if he were dead, that'd be too much finality, and people are like, well, I know what happened to this guy, so why would I watch that? So overall, it was worth watching, and tonally might not be the right thing for everybody, but if you can tolerate some of the times where they, in my view, went too far with gore, it was worth it overall.
I think it was a very good finale, and I think they wrapped up the story very well. And like you guys have said, if people who haven't watched the show can stomach some of the gore and the sex and stuff, definitely worth watching. I mean, you get a good, solid story, beginning, middle, end, with a definitive finale. Our two biggest foes on either side are gone. They didn't leave, like you said, they didn't leave Homelander alive. They got rid of him, made him humiliate himself on national or international TV, and then just basically cut his head open, let his brains run out. So he's gone. And then, of course, unfortunately, our hero, if you want to call him that, our dark hero, now that he lost everything, his dog, everything, a potential son, stepson, his dog, decided, well, you know what, there's somebody's going to rise up and take Homelander's place, which is probably true. So he wanted to release the virus, and everything, but Huey ended up having to kill him. And that was, those two characters had a big history. And so Huey finishing off, him off is one way to show a continuing relationship and how it ended. I was happy that the Deep died too, and I was happy that it was Starlight who did it, because remember, the show started with the Deep basically sexually assaulting, raping Starlight. So it was nice to see her actually, even though she wasn't the one who killed him per se, she just knocked him into the ocean and all the fish killed him because they believed he had killed the others when it wasn't even his fault. But he did kill, Black Noir, who was the one who did it. So, all of the quote unquote bad guys, although Black Noir wasn't one of them really, I don't think, although he did do bad things, got their comeuppance, in the end. Even the ones who were anti-heroes, who couldn't live in this world now that their job was done, and got their comeuppance. So, although I won't count Frenchie in that, I think that was a very tragic, sad bit. But I love the fact that his love was able to go to France and do the kinds of things that they had talked about doing, and continue to kind of, enjoy the peace after the fight, and be able to remember him and have good memories and such. So yeah, it was, I think, a good finale. I think it did a good job of finishing the story. It didn't leave things hanging. So in that sense, pretty good. And I'm not worried about Soldier Boy. People, one of the thoughts that came to mind when they said, somebody, when they said somebody was going to take up Homelander's role and be another Homelander, it's not going to be Soldier Boy. He's proven that all he wants to do, if he ever gets thought out, is just go have a lot of sex and drink and do drugs. That's all he wants to do. He doesn't want to take over the world.
Yeah, he's on ice though, so, he can, in theory, they can still take his blood. They can still experiment on him as a source. And, Vought still exists, so there could be future stories.
Yeah, but you got to think that our guy who took back over Vought has got to think to himself, I don't want another Homelander that I can't control. So he's probably thinking of ways to introduce some kind of a trigger or something to kill switch in any future soups.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if they want to continue the business model they had, or if they try something different.
Yeah, very curious how the spinoff will do come, a year or two from now. All right. Many shows to talk about, and moving on next, Wendy's going to talk about season 1 of The Boroughs.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into total plot here, but I really liked the setup of this story. It's about this newly widowed man who moves to this assisted living that he didn't choose, his wife who passed away chose, and our main character is played by Alfred Molina, who was fantastic in this, and his daughter was played by Jenna Malone, and she was sort of a chip off the old block in terms of being a brilliant engineer, which turned out to be really important for the problems that happen in this community. And they've gathered up this other, I'll just call it the Scooby Gang of other people that live in this community who all know that something funky's going on. And it turns out that there was an alien that was captured, and it has life-extending Fountain of Youth type powers that get harnessed. I thought the mystery of what was going on was really well done. It also has characters that, I certainly got engaged by. Gina Davis's story arc was interesting. Alfre Woodard's character, who had been in love with Bill Pullman, who was sort of the town flirt, but he was truly in love with Alfre Woodard's character. But also he had befriended Alfred Molina. So when Alfred Molina comes as the new guy and he starts seeing really weird stuff, he gets confirmation from the man who used to live in his house, who is now living in the more hands-on area for people who can't live on their own. And it plays a lot with the themes about what happens to people as they get older, and how older people get discounted and dismissed and ignored, and the very real problem that was happening that they could not effectively communicate. There was also just some sweet nods to things. There was a funny Thelma and Louise shout out moment with a car. Overall, I just really enjoyed it. It also had themes about technology, and they live in these smart homes, which people are turning on and off. The science behind what they did to stop the problem that was going on with how they were being controlled. It was all plausible enough that I didn't really dig into it very much because I was just enjoying it. And I always enjoy when, a Scooby Gang sort of forms and is able to, Rube Goldberg, some solutions. It had a very nice, positive, heartfelt kind of tone that I enjoyed. I'm not sure that I would want to see more of this universe or these characters, but I definitely enjoyed what we had.
Yeah, it was a fun show. I enjoyed it as well. I don't know if it's a nitpick on the writers or if I'm just a genius, but as soon as they showed the little marketing video in the very beginning, the first episode, and showed the leader of the place and said, my grandfather founded this, I'm like, you are the grandfather, aren't you? You're immortal or something. Because it just seemed really obvious to me that he was like carrying himself as somebody who was much older from a long time ago in the modern day. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're the old guy, aren't you? There's going to be some immortality hook here. And then sure enough, that shows up. And I'm like, okay. Like I said, either I'm a genius or the writing was a little sloppy. I don't know. But the whole adventure part of this, Alfred Molina did a great job. His character was amazing. I enjoyed it. His daughter was great too. I enjoyed her role in this. Not Alfred Molina's daughter, but the character's daughter. The whole concept of the children being, the creatures that were like stealing brain fluid, spinal brain fluid, was creepy and very effective. Then when we found out that they were really just children of this thing called the mother, and they were basically stealing all that just to feed her, to keep her alive because she was producing the stuff that made everybody immortal, was interesting. I enjoyed a lot of the encounters. All the characters were very very good. I thought that they did a really good job with the characters. I don't think, like I said, it was as good as Stranger Things, but I think they did a really good job with it. I think it was fun. I'm just curious about how they ended it with that scene where Alfred Molina is in the bathroom, and as he's looking away, his reflection in the mirror kind of fizzles out a little bit, like whenever Mother was showing him illusions of his dead wife, that's how she would appear. She kind of fizzle out and stuff like that. So it makes me wonder, is he in one of those illusions? I mean, I know that right when she died, when she blew herself up, Mother did, he had a bit of a adventure with his dead wife. And, you know, you ever wonder, was that supernatural? And she was a ghost. But she said that Mother is giving us one last moment or something. And to that regard, I thought, well, no, this is just Mother just put this in his brain, and it happened in a split second, but as she was dying, of him with his wife. But I don't know what happened there either. But did he ever wake up from that? Did he die? I mean, what's going on? Is it, you know, with the flashes in the mirror? Now I'm worried that we're gonna, if we ever come back with another season, we're gonna come back and everything is still back the way it was. I mean, obviously the leader, the guy, the big bad guy, he didn't die. You know, as soon as his wife was disintegrated and he was just screaming like that, I thought, okay, it's not going to kill him. Sure enough, the machine was turned off or damaged or exploded or whatever, overloaded, and he collapsed. And everybody thought he was dead, but then we saw movement, so he's still around. So we've got these things that are setting up for a potential another season. But I'm kind of curious how they ended it. But yeah, it was fun. It was an enjoyable show. I would definitely recommend people watch it. I think I mentioned in the water cooler, I probably wouldn't go watch it again. It's not that kind of show to me, but it was good. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar spot to you folks. I think I made two mistakes as a viewer. Number one, tying it to the pedigree of Stranger Things was unattainable in terms of enjoyment of it. And this cast was just so stellar. So many people that I've just seen in other things over the years that I've loved, that, again, I think my expectations on those two items, not that I didn't enjoy it, but I think I expected or wanted more than what it was. And what it was very good, as you both pointed out. I think if this show had come in without them pimping the Stranger Things creator connection and just got some surprises for some of the cast names, this would have been, for me, more enjoyable because it would have been a bit of a surprise. And it would have been, oh, this story was interesting. Because it very much had an 80s vibe to it, of this crazy concept that actually kind of makes sense when you look at the detail. And you're going to have this just group of average folks who are going to find a way to not only save their own lives, but lots of others. So it's its own little self-contained, fun 80s look at being able to do something. So it was very enjoyable. Much like Brent said, I don't see myself watching again, but I'm very much glad I did. And I also, if someone said, hey, I didn't watch The Burrow, should I? I'd be like, you enjoy some genre and good acting and writing, you'll definitely want to give it a try. Along with some good tugs at some emotional strings from a few of the characters too. So it had all of them in there. But I definitely think me as a viewer made those mistakes of maybe expecting a little too much. And when it didn't deliver at that level, you know, my enjoyment was there, just not as high as I incorrectly had hoped. All right, moving on. We got a couple other shows we definitely want to touch on. And I'm going to lead our discussion for Spider Noir Season 1, which aired on Amazon, or dropped on Amazon Prime. Full season is dropped. If you're here listening and haven't watched it, it's not a week-to-week one, like some of the Amazon Prime will be. So they're all the episodes are there. And I don't want to call it a gimmick, but an approach to match the noir type of show is that they do have it available in just black and white or in color episodes. So I did watch the color version of it. As I mentioned a little earlier in the podcast, kind of from no choice, because I was downloading them to watch on some flights, and they only make the color version available offline on things. So a choice I thought I might have got taken away from me there, and not in a bad way, just in kind of a determining how I do it. I was very curious going into this how I was going to feel about Nicolas Cage. I've loved him as an actor, but I think all of you that have watched any films with him know that when Nick Cage chooses to go all out Nick Cage, that can just turn things into a bit of a train wreck. Sometimes a very entertaining one, but sometimes not so much. But I got to say, I think he did an excellent job. I think Brent mentioned this a little earlier in a non-spoiler way, as our lead here. He was subdued for the most part, very much playing to the special set of powers he got. We got a good backstory about how he got him and some of the other people. Made a lot of sense. The heartbreaking stuff in there. I enjoyed the series. I think it's a good, very good ensemble. The other folks that are a part of this story, from his secretary to the newspaper guy to some of the muscle for the crime, lord, if you will, all of those, the actors doing him, the parts, the femme fatale, it all kind of works. The thing I had trouble with as a viewer is, while I've enjoyed and do enjoy some noir movies from time to time, whether older ones or even newer ones in that theme, having this many episodes, several hours in that style, was a bit slow for me. But that's the nature of a noir story. So expecting it to be, full of action is not what it was going to be. So this is a case where maybe some of my expectations helped my enjoyment, because I knew, Kev, this thing is going to take its time. Okay, we're going to, move slow at a few points, and even when it's moving at its natural pace, it's going to be a little slow in the way it does it. But I enjoyed it. I thought the casting was very good. It had me interested. It wasn't like every episode was on a cliffhanger item or something like, oh my God, I have to watch the next one. But it's like a natural part of the story playing out. And throw in, some, shall we say, Spider-Man bits and a little bit of good humor, and it was an enjoyable show. I wouldn't put it up at the level of the Burrows. If someone kind of came and said, hey, I haven't watched Spider Noir or Burrows, and they're a genre fan, I'm probably going to tell them the Burrows first. But I still would recommend Spider Noir. So as long as you go in with expectations, knowing that the genre aspect, while certainly a centerpiece, is not a large portion of what's happening, you're more watching Nicolas Cage's character and how he deals with what's going on, and having been away from it for reasons that made sense to him, and getting pulled back in to have to be a hero again, can be some enjoyable stuff to play out. So definitely one I enjoyed, but I wouldn't go like high on the enjoyment list.
Well, that's interesting. I want to hear what Brent has to say as well, but I understand your comments about Nick Cage. I think he's a very good actor. I think he's actually matured a lot in terms of moderating his performances lately. But I want to hear what Brent says.
Yeah, Nick Cage did a great job. His character had some idiosyncrasies, but they made them make sense in the universe and in the story. He had a speech pattern that was very kind of movies, like you expect from the movies, not very realistic, but that it was explained. After he had this transformation in the war by being bitten by that experiment, that genetic experiment, he had kind of lost a lot of his humanity and even his ability to speak very well. And so he actually would go to the movies to study speech and speech patterns and things so that he could be more human again. So it kind of made sense. And then, of course, every once in a while, he would just freak out and do all these weird spider things that, somebody who didn't know why he was doing that in the story was, oh, that's just Nick Cage being Nick Cage. He's being goofy and weird. But he wasn't. It was in the spider, as he stated as well when he was talking to the femme fatale, the spider basically is always there and trying to take over. And the spider mind, the spider genetics are always trying to take over, and he has to fight them constantly. So when he's in these moments of weakness or he's recovering from something, you'll see him do these weird kind of, like, a couple times he did like on his back with his arms and legs up like a dead spider. He'll do that, and then he'll like freak out and do some weird movements and stuff. And it's just him trying to fight these urges that he has. So they made it make sense. So it worked for me. And there was a lot of good dry comedy, and I loved the henchmen were pretty funny. There was one that looked a lot like Andy Richter, who's like Conan's right hand man. I thought he reminded me a lot of him. He was one of the two main henchmen that we saw throughout the entire thing. It was great characters. I don't think there was a single character I didn't like in this. I enjoyed them all, and it was a great setting. And it was like you said, Kevin. Yeah, I would recommend people watch it. I wouldn't say don't watch it. I probably would watch this one again only because I do that with all Marvel stuff. I'm a rewatcher of Marvel stuff, so I probably would rewatch it, but it's not something I'd go out of my way to try to rewatch. I don't think, but it was enjoyable. Great characters. That much I got to say. Great universe, great characters, good writing. Yeah, the story was okay. I wouldn't say it was stellar, but it was okay, and I did enjoy it.
Just got to be patient. Got to give this one some time. All right, while we're staying in the Marvel universe, we're going to let Brent talk about that Punisher movie / special.
Yeah, this was definitely it was like an hour and a half or something. I can't remember the exact run length, but it was intended to be, clearly, it was something that John Bernthal, who co-wrote it and executive produced it. Obviously, it's something that he wanted to do, but I think it was something the studio wanted to do as well because they wanted, obviously, or else they wouldn't have done it. But I mean, they wanted to tell us where Punisher was, what happened, set him up for what he does in Spider-Man Brand New Day, because in the trailers for that movie, we've seen that he's in it, and it is the same Punisher. It's not just also played by John Bernthal, but it's the exact same character. So people saw the trailer and then also remembered where he disappeared in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and we're like, how did that guy get to here? We don't understand. So that's what really this purpose of this was to show that. And they showed it in an interesting way, very interesting way. If you are all about like psychological dramas and things like that, you would really dig this, I think, whether you're a Marvel fan or a Punisher fan or not. Because the whole middle section of this movie, or special, is all about psychological drama and issues and Punisher, Frank, having to deal with not knowing what his purpose is in life anymore. I mean, it even opens up with him after he's killed all the people he thinks are responsible for the death of his family, going to the grave of his wife and daughter and attempting to kill himself because he figures that there's no more purpose. And then he sees an image of his daughter, and there's strong speculation that ties into Spider-Man A Brand New Day as well. That was not just in his head, or it was in his head, but it was put there by somebody. The vision of his daughter trying to tell him, basically convincing him to go on. But the ultimate end result of this is Frank snaps out of it and realizes, because of the attack that the lone remaining member of the family of the people who helped kill his family, the mother, because of the attacks that she caused, he has to go defend people, and he has to make that decision. There's a decision point where he can go kill her, finish the job, and then what? Then where is he? Or he can go save innocent people, and he decides to go save the innocent people. And that is really what Marvel was trying to do to show where he's going. He has now become, by the end of this movie, when he dresses back up in the gear and he goes and takes care of the scum on the street, that bothered that old Marine, that he has become the comic book vigilante that is needed for the rest of the Marvel Universe, not just the PTSD Marine who had his family killed, who was seeking vengeance. He's finished with that part of himself. He's now become the anti-hero vigilante that's going to save people, just everyday people. He's not so much out for vengeance and killing of the people that are responsible for hurting him. He's now going to save people from others who want to do that sort of thing to them. So he's made that transition as a character by the end, and we see that clearly displayed. So I think it served a very vital purpose. I think it's a bit slow in the middle. I'm not a big fan of the psychological drama stuff, so that was not the most exciting stuff for me. But all the action was awesome. Very well done. Great fight scenes and all that. And I think by the end, I'm very glad that I saw this, and I'm very glad that they established this as canon for how the Punisher gets to the point where we're going to next see him in Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yeah, I think part of what threw me off from enjoyment, or full enjoyment, or as much enjoyment as you had for it, is that, this thing is only 45 minutes long. It's like a single episode of a TV show. So in and of itself, not someone who's a huge fan of the Punisher here, he spent so much time in his head and his trauma that the action stuff was, cool to kind of see, but I wasn't following a lot of what was going on to be able to enjoy it. As you're pointing out, it's a great piece to tie into the bigger universe of where some things are going. But in and of itself, my enjoyment of it was minimal. I liked seeing the character again. I think Barenthal does a wonderful job with it. But in and of itself, it was like a single episode of a show where I'm like, okay, you just dropped me in, I got it, and that's it. So, this will probably, I want to say make more sense, but this will maybe feel like a better understanding of it once we see what comes next.
Yeah, I tried to watch this and I was like, okay, he's having his PTSD episode again, which was really depressing. Honestly, I was like, this is disturbing. And then it was followed by what for me was just ultra violence, which later he, was somewhat justified as, protecting people. But when I thought about it, and I did almost watch the whole thing. I didn't realize it as you were talking about the plot, but I'm like, I think I almost did watch the whole thing. He was so dead. He was so numb, inured to all the violence that was going around in his neighborhood in the beginning because he was literally caught in this loop of trauma. It was a great performance by John Barenthal. But I don't know, it went on too long. There were no other really positive characters other than the guy that owned the coffee shop and his family, which they didn't feel like fully developed characters to me. So, yeah, that's why I couldn't rate it. And it just, I don't know, there was, I can't describe what was missing. I want to say story was missing because it focused so much on just him with these visions and his emotional outbursts. I mean, there was a homeless guy in the coffee shop scene too, and I was like, well, that's practically him. And it was like, what's the story here? I understand it's the last person involved in his family's murder, but it just felt like he was running a gauntlet. It almost felt like a video game to me when they came to the apartment building, and it was just it wasn't entertaining for me.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and I think it is maybe a bit of the expectation thing too, because yes, there was no story here. I totally agree with you. All it was, and I knew it was going to be this, maybe going into it, which is why it worked better for me. I knew it was going to be just a way to establish the character going into Spider-Man. So I look at it in hindsight now, and I kind of expected it going in that it really was not really a story. It was just a character piece. It was just getting his character from point A to point B. And those people in the coffee shop or whatever were absolutely not very fleshed out characters. I totally agree. The little girl was just trying to, her purpose was just to remind him of his little girl. And they were just people to save, to trigger his switch from point A to point B, to be the turn into the vigilante superhero as opposed to the, dark PTSD ridden Marine seeking vengeance, which is what he's always been until now in the MCU. So yeah, I totally agree with you. There was no story there. But it was a character movement from point A to point B, basically.
Yeah, and I'm just not that tied into the Marvel universe as you are. Like, I'm definitely not caught up on all the movies and how they're tied together. So, it definitely, I needed a little bit more.
All right. Well, to finish this podcast, we're going to let Wendy give us some of her thoughts on the first half of the season for Widow's Bay.
Yeah, so Widow's Bay is on Apple Plus, Apple TV, whatever it's called. And it stars Matthew Rhys, who is an actor I very much like ever since I became aware of him in The Americans. And he's also been in a lot of other things. He's a very versatile actor. And this show is supernatural, I would say. It's definitely got a Stephen King, I would say, vibe to it. It is not a Stephen King property. I also recently saw Matthew Rhys in The Beast in Me with Claire Danes, which was a season-long show, and he was great in that too, playing a very different character. He plays the mayor of this island, Widow's Bay, and his goal is to turn it into the next Martha's Vineyard. And we're kicking off the summer season, and he gets some big-time travel podcaster to come and sort of pump it up. So, he's trying to lift their profile. And there's all kinds of quirky local people who really don't want that to happen because a lot of weird stuff happens on this island and bad stuff. He himself, his wife, is passed away in childbirth, and he has kind of a strained relationship with his son, who's a teenager. The mayor's office has some really interesting characters. It almost has, I was talking with another friend of mine who's not a huge genre fan, but we both really love Twin Peaks. It has weird, quirky characters like Twin Peaks had too. All the episodes are very much titled around travel, summer travel. So there's one that's called Lodging, and it's about a haunted bed and breakfast. He is the mayor, to kick off the season, does what's called the inaugural swim, and there's a whole lore that goes along with that. The episode called Beach Reads is about someone reading the wrong book and really weird stuff happens as a result. It has humor in it. It does have literally things that made me jump scare. Not a lot, but it's not gory. And so far I'm really liking it. And like I said, I'm 5 episodes in. There's 10 total. And I'll keep you posted, but so far I'm giving it a big thumbs up.
Oh, that sounds cool. What service is it on again?
It's on Apple Plus.
Okay, cool. Might check it out.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I had someone else that I know is a reactor on YouTube who just said they were fascinated by it. Not that they weren't doing reactions to it, but it's a show they mentioned or asked me if I'd seen. They just said, and quirky is the word that was used, Wendy. So mentioning Twin Peaks and all kind of makes some sense now. So that's interesting. Going to be very curious as you watch the back half of the season. What happens and if your enjoyment stays up in that same range for it.
Yeah, the other thing is the story's progressing along. So, sometimes a show where it's like there's a secret and, I'll just say aliens are real. That's not the story, but they'll drag it out too long. They're not doing that in this show. The mayor went from being a complete skeptic denier in the first episode to by episode 3, he's on board and everyone else is sort of like, slow your roll. We don't want to scare away all the tourists. So, and like I said, because it's on this island that, it's very much off the coast of New England. It has a Stephen King-esque tone to it as well. Yeah, it's intriguing is for sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that'll wrap us up for this particular podcast. Lots to catch up on since it's been a few weeks since we recorded several shows, lots of news items, teasers, lots of info. Hopefully you folks enjoyed and found useful. So thanks to both Brent and Wendy for being here. Fun to get to talk again and for their flexibility with my crazy schedule. It was great to dive into some genre discussions. And we hope you all enjoyed it, folks. Hope you have a great week.
Thank you all for listening and take care. We'll see you soon.
Catch you next time.
We'd love to hear our listeners voice thoughts and send us feedback. Call us at 706-927-8478. Stop by our tuningintoscifitv.com blog to record a SpeakPipe message, or check the show notes and leave us comments. From the blog, you can also find links to forum discussions and subscribe to our RSS feed. Call into our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Skype account and leave us a message. Be social with us on our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Facebook page, or follow us at Tuning Into Sci-Fi on Twitter.
The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 689, recorded June 6, 2026.